Greetings and welcome. My name is Jake Grayson. I am a wildlife, food, forest, garden designer, and this is introducing the walled garden. It's a new project that I'm just about to start. So this really is just setting everything up. I've got a few ideas about the design for it, but the really is just to go through how I set up every project. So this is the lay of the land. And alright then, let's get cracking with it. So the actual garden itself, it's a 2-acre walled garden, so 90 meters by 90 meters, and it has I'll show you a picture of it. Actually, be the easiest thing to do. This is the garden here, as you can see. Oops, sorry. I was going to show you that first of all, but I was going to show you this. So yeah, this is the garden here, set in a valley with hills to the east. The stone walls 4 meters high, and it's a big old space. There's a house in there in the corner, and over on the north side, that's on the southwest corner, on the north side there is a glass house, and a dilapidated glass house. So vast amounts of potential, but also it's quite an historic site as well, so I have to be very sensitive to that and careful with that. So really excited about this. Talked a fair bit to the client already, and essentially he's after food and beauty to put it simply, so but maintaining the essential characteristics of the garden. So if we actually have a look at the satellite photograph. So satellite photographs are absolutely brilliant for kind of seeing the site in context, and I use it as a kind of basis just to be able to sketch out this is roughly the size and the size, the dimensions, and the shape of a particular garden. So it's a good starting point. Different people, different maps have different kind of quality resolution. So have a look at Google Maps or Bing Maps or Apple Maps, and then just find a satellite photograph which is best for you if you're setting up a project. And yeah, there was the house was set up as part of the mansion, which I think was up on this site here, and there's the remains of a castle down here, I do believe, and it was the walled garden was serving the estate basically. So yeah, it's really exciting. What you've got here on the east side is woodland, which is fantastic. And then if you actually, let me see if I can just get this to work. Right, so this is an old map, and this shows the oopsie, can't zoom in. This shows the original structure. So I've got a fair bit of research to do about this. So it will be looking at the walled gardens in the area, walled gardens in general. I think apparently it might go back to the 17th century. So it's looking at how walled gardens would have been set up, how they would have been used, and bearing that in mind. Now, the kind of key reason, apart from the historical reason of maintaining the structure, there's a very practical reason as well. If you've got paths already defined, then it's pointless recreating a whole load of paths, because you're going to end up with lots of compacted, hardcore soil, where the original paths were. Much better to work with what you already have, so you're expending the least amount of energy. And then the idea is to have a naturalistic planting around that structure. So it's not as though you can't have it's not as though everything has to be rectilinear. It's that this is what you're starting with. So it makes a lot of sense practically, historically, and also yes, you can make it work very nicely visually. There are lots of examples of very formal gardens with very informal naturalistic planting. Loads and loads of examples of that. So this is off of there's a Scotland heritage map site, so that's just really useful. I'm just dying to find out more about it as well. This is off this is the information, this is a map from Ground Stability, groundstability.com, which might be useful for some people. And then I've got the Ordnance Survey map as well. So if you go to bing.com, let me just show you that. Whoopsie, bing.com/maps. There is a layer, an Ordnance Survey layer there as well. And this is really what this is really useful for is public rights of way, waterways, and also the gradient's really important. So particularly because I'm working remotely, I'm in West Wales and this job is up in Scotland, it's good to be able to see the contours. So this is, you can see here, it's quite a steep woodland to the east of the garden. So that's the garden here. Okay. So when I was talking about, let me just kind of bring up here. So when I was talking to the client about this, I think I just, it's a dream job. It really is a dream job. When I was talking to the client, I was saying there's an awful lot that you can do with naturalistic planting and also with formality as well. And it's great. In some ways, it's a restraint to have an existing structure to work within, but it's also quite liberating because then you can think about you've got something to bounce off. So I've been a big fan of John Little. What's his website? Grass Roof Co on Twitter, and his name is John Little. Oh, you'll be able to find him. And this is his place in Essex, and he experiments a lot with brownfield materials. And what I love about his work is that it's looking at different habitat. It's creating a diversity of habitat. So not only do you have, like with forest gardening, you have a diversity of planting, he's also looking at a diversity of habitats. And a forest garden is what, there are some basic principles, but you can incorporate an awful lot of other different elements in there. So it can be a forest garden can be an ornamental garden, and a forest garden can be a wildlife garden, and it can have a diversity of habitats as well, because it actually suits the way that a forest garden works in creating an edible ecosystem, that you want a resilient garden that kind of feeds and balances itself. It suits, to have a diversity of habitats, to encourage a diversity of different wildlife in there, to keep it more in balance. So the more diverse an ecosystem is, the more resilient it is, and the more balance there is. That's my non-ecological theory anyway, but it kind of seems to be borne out. So I'm just kind of very interested. And what I love about this photograph of John's garden is you can see straight away like the geometric shapes, and once you have a geometric shape and naturalistic planting or different materials, what would be a pile of sand then becomes a kind of a feature in its own right. So yeah, I really recommend, if you go and have a look on his YouTube channel as well, he's got a couple of fantastic talks about structural complexity and biodiversity. So go and do some more research. Go and have a look at that. Totally recommend that. Okay, so when I'm setting up a new project, what I do, I use CAD, which is computer aided design. I use a CAD package called QCAD. If you're interested in, I kind of say if you're doing a project, unless you're doing lots of designs, it's not that much point learning it, because it's a steep learning curve. But it is brilliant because there's an awful lot that you can do with it. And I always kind of work in CAD because I'm really comfortable with it, and I can just kind of pull in different photographs and images and shapes and sizes and calculate areas and try out different elements. If you're just doing a one-off, then use a pencil and paper and 5mm grid square. Okay, so these CAD, let's show you the CAD very quickly. Really, just a quick screenshot. I'm going to get the client to measure up. He's visiting in a couple of weeks' time. I'm going to get him to measure up the site and take videos and solve samples, a whole range of different things. So I've got to get him a prep sheet for him. And this is just a screen grab, and I just kind of do a very quick outline. So he'll give us more detail about this. And that's it, and then you can zoom in, and here we go. And then you can start putting trees and paths and everything else in. And I have a template. So if you do, if you are interested in CAD, I've got a template on my website. You're more than welcome to have it if you want it. I have a template, and it's got lots of different plants, ready-made layers for different types of plants, and boundary, buildings, ground cover, utilities, that kind of stuff. So I can just jump straight in, start designing straight away. But what I do is to I like to sketch. Shall I show you? Oh, let me see. I've started sketching a lot, so it's a good thing to do, really, because it gives you a much better idea about it gives you a much better idea about what's going on with the space. Let me get you a nice little sketch. I've got one here. It's not a particularly good sketch, but it'll do. Hold on, mobile rig. There we go. Whoa. So this is a sketch I did for another client, just to show. It's kind of very basic, but you get the idea. There's a hedge up there. There's a bank, and then there's this bed down here, and a bed in the foreground. That's a bit of a steep slope. This bit here. So I always kind of recommend you start out with sketches, and you kind of just get the vague shape, the kind of idea for it. So here with this, for the swap between the two different parts, you can see at the top. Whoa, where are you? That's the greenhouse at the top there, and then let's go back to the mobile rig. There is a very kind of basic shape. So you've got the greenhouse at the top, and then you have the path shape. It looks something like this. So what you got to be careful about is daylight. Now the client's already asked for more. For a feature in the center, so you go, yep, cool. So whatever it is, there'll be a feature in the center, and then you've also got to be careful that you want to keep the light for the greenhouse. Yeah, so it means don't plant massive great trees here, because that will cast shade on the greenhouse. So where you grow the larger trees is to the north. But because there's a 4 meter high wall, it's not so important. I mean, you still need, because can I type it down here? Yep. So you've got a 4 meter high, and a 4 meter high wall will protect for 8 times the height. So it will protect for 32 meters. So basically, you need a couple more windbreak hedges in here. Some shape or form, about 3-4 meters high, or maybe different heights, but have a range of staggered windbreaks, and then you've got to be very kind of aware of how much light is being let through as well for the central bit, and also for the greenhouse. So it's a different, I'm approaching this in a very different manner to how I'd approach a greenfield site on an exposed hill. That would be windbreaks at different heights all the way around, whereas this is far more considered. And this kind of ties into the creation of different spaces within the garden as well. So what I'm thinking of, and this is just like the first initial thoughts, is if you are going to have any trees, they need to be vertiginous, which means upright. Vertiginous trees, and they need to be at the back, because they're not really at the north, so they're not really casting any shade anywhere. So you can still have them, you can still have taller trees, but it's not like you're going to have great big species. So what I'm envisaging are trees which are generally much smaller. So you're looking about 4 meter, 5 meter, 6 meter size trees, rather than kind of great big 25 meter beech trees or something. Yeah. So that's the restriction, and that's the kind of area at the top that you're looking at. And then the other consideration is the dwelling, is where the house will be. So there's an existing house down here. Now, when you're creating a garden, generally what you're doing, and it depends upon how the garden is used, but generally you have the higher maintenance and the more used crops closer to the house, so that if that was the house that you're living in, then that's the kind of area that you'd have crops in. So you don't want to walk miles to go and get crops if you can have them. It depends what it is, and it depends what your setup is, but the idea is more regular crops closer to the house. But there's also the possibility that there's going to be a new build, I don't know, possibly over on the east side as well. So this is kind of interesting. If that, it's all very much up in the air. But if that was the case, then obviously you're going to be designing from that point, or there might be two dwellings, so there might be some sort of interplay between them. So it's kind of really, really, really exciting. But I just wanted to kind of point out it's really about the windbreaks. Keeping and what kind of plants, what kind of trees you're considering in the first place, and this is the general strictures, the general restraints of the space that you're working with, and it's just being aware of that at the beginning. And I haven't done any design at all, but this is what's playing in my mind at the moment. So, what I do think is very good as well is to write everything down. So, with the client, I have I did. So I'll just quickly show you the CAD as well. So if I were to go, oh yes. So I've got a template of plants which is also online as well. So if I go and open up some trees, I can copy and paste the trees straight in to, there we go, stone pine. Oh, I love stone pines. Italian stone pine, lovely, lovely, lovely. Go to my tree layer, paste it in. Oh, I had this before actually. Oh, it's not visible. There we go. And then straight away, you can start playing around with different. You can start playing around with different species straight away, because I've got a whole load of different species already, or different plants already made as templates. So that's the idea, and then you kind of sketch out different ideas and then try them out on the CAD, and then kind of tighten it all up once you know where you're headed. So that's that's the kind of CAD thing. So onto the notes. I think it's really, really important. Write things down and have really good communication with the client, and have meetings and find out what the client is planning and where the client wants to go. And it's an ongoing process as well. It's not like you have one conversation and that's it. You have some general ideas, and then the thing is to explore those ideas and then feedback, and then get more feedback from the client, and then see which direction to take the garden design, and so always kind of maintain a good dialogue. So I have online notes that I have created on my website, on my code website, and this is where I have started keeping all my jobs, and then I can say to the client, this is the website. If you're interested, this is the URL, notes.grwd.uk/wald, and it gives an outline of the project. So just to say what the main goal is, food and beauty, is like a lovely summary of what we're working towards, and that's the client that said that. So this is a very good space. It focuses the mind. When I'm writing it focuses the mind. Keep it nice and simple, but it really does focus the mind in getting down to what you're actually trying to achieve. And then I also have possible features down here, which is brilliant. I love this bit where you kind of play around with what would you like in your garden. You come up with all sorts of ideas. And then I've also got a YouTube, so I'm creating a YouTube playlist for this particular project as well. So this is going to be a bit of a long one. How long have I been talking for? Nearly 20 minutes. Anyway, there we go. So that's that, and then you can download the latest PDF, the latest CAD file, and satellite images and things as well, any kind of backup material. So those are the notes which are kept up on my website. If you're interested in my website, it's github.com/growdigital/notes, and that's where I kind of keep all my client notes. It's all public facing stuff, so I don't put any kind of identifying personal material in there at all. And then I have a schedule as well. So I have a page which just describes the project, then I have a schedule, and this can be kind of quite detailed, or it can just be kind of vague stuff. So this is relatively vague. Setting the project up, starting the preliminary designs. I'll be starting next week actually. I've got a job tomorrow, but I'll be starting next week, which is really exciting. And then March is a client survey, update the designs, and then having an experienced forest gardener have a look at my designs, and then look at that in relation to the site. and then get feedback and have final designs, and then next winter start planting the canopy. It's a really good idea to have a schedule in there as well, so people know what we're aiming towards. And what I've also got is the Pinterest page. Nothing there really at the moment, but a Pinterest page is great. If you're talking about plants and you say, oh, you know, aronia bushes, and what the heck does an aronia bush look like? Well, here you go. Just chuck some photographs on there, and it's kind of very easy way of putting ideas into on for a project. And then also I have a spreadsheet. Oh, goodness me. So this is there's nothing in there at the moment, of course I haven't designed anything, but I do use this when I create the CAD plan. I put all the plants down on the CAD plan, and then all the plants come into the spreadsheet, so the client knows exactly which plants I'm talking about and where they're going. So there's like there's a bed and what they're doing, and you know what rootstock they are, native, height, area, quantity. And then you can start putting in things like supplier and the cost and everything as well when you get into the ordering side. So it's a really good place to have a list of all the plants that are going into the garden. So it's a very, very good kind of reference for maintenance and for buying stuff, and also for the design stage as well. So I totally recommend doing that. That's in Google Sheets. And oh yeah, that was right. Yeah, so and all the CAD files too. All these CAD files, I'm just keeping everything online, kind of publicly accessible, so people, it makes the life an awful lot easier, and I just kind of update them. This is all automatically version controlled, which means there's always the latest version online, so it's nice and simple. And then finally, for the images that I'm using, apart from Pinterest, which I'm just kind of putting anything up there, I have kind of specific images that I use. I will use Cloudinary, and they're really, really good. If you're ever doing anything involving images online and you want some sort of library on there which you're maintaining and adding to on a regular basis, Cloudinary.com is great for doing it, and it's easy to pull them into your website as well. So totally recommend using them. There we go. Right, crikey Moses, what a lot of setup. Oh no. It's a bit slow and clunky. So there we go. Online notes, schedule, spreadsheet. Brilliant. That's me done for 22 minutes of me talking. I hope that's I hope that's interesting. It's good. And I do regular monthly live streams and a monthly workshop, free workshop, first Monday of the month as well. And so there we go. My website, natureworks.org.uk. Okay, thank you for watching. See you soon. Cheers. Bye.